If you are a woman above 45 years old, there are 10 potential reasons that you might be having trouble losing weight and losing body fat, weight loss resistance. It's very common in midlife women, and once women are postmenopausal, even more common. So I'm going to give you 10 reasons that this could be occurring and a few solutions along the way. But before we get started, I want to tell you about my book, Finding Purpose in the Pause, Your Guide to Thriving in Menopause and Beyond. Really, this book is for any woman nearing perimenopause or postmenopausal. It's really about the transition into that part of life and what you can do with your nutrition, your exercise. I even cover intermittent fasting and other lifestyle habits such as sleep and stress. You can grab your copy at Amazon. I also have a link in the show notes. So, the 10 reasons that you might be weight loss resistant. And some of these may be familiar to you, and some of them may be a little surprising. So, stay tuned for all 10. Number one is going to be a down-regulated metabolism. Now, what do I mean by a down-regulated metabolism? That simply means that your metabolism is not flexible and it has slowed down significantly. So, what would cause a slow metabolism? Sometimes I hear people say, both men and women, they think they have a slow metabolism because it's genetic. And yeah, genetics can play a role here and there, but there are things that are far more important than looking at genetics. And in fact, genetics only account for a small percentage of our ability to lose weight. A downregulated metabolism occurs when a woman has been dieting for a prolonged period of time, or she's been on and off a diet like it's her new hobby over a long period of time. So let's say you have a woman and she's 5'5" and weighs 160 pounds. She's met with weight loss resistance, and so she starts slashing her calories. And she takes her calories all the way down to 1,200. And then from there, it's 1,100, and then 1,000, and then 9, and then 800 calories. Believe me, I've seen it. I even once had a client who was close to 300 pounds who was eating 600 calories per day. She just kept bringing the calorie count down, and she could not lose weight. In fact, at times she would gain weight. Now, there's several coaches out there that will say it's calories in, calories out, and that's the only thing that matters. And I disagree with that. I do believe calories matter. If you consume an excessive amount of calories, you're going to gain weight. And in many instances, if you restrict calories, you're going to lose weight. But if somebody has so damaged their metabolism, this might not be possible because our bodies are really smart. Our brains are smart. And when you stop eating over a period of time, or you restrict your food significantly over a period of time and your calories over a period of time, your metabolism slows down in response. Your body begins to conserve energy. And then the brain might perceive that your body is starving, and our brains want to keep us safe. Our brain doesn't care whether we look good in a bikini, whether we want to fit in our jeans, or whether or not we're losing weight. Our brain wants to keep us safe. It's really a survival mechanism that we have, and it's a good one, and it works pretty good. But if you don't allow yourself diet breaks, come off of that diet, or if you're ultra low calorie, I should say, for too long of a period of time, you could experience this down regulated metabolism. It also happens when it's combined with excessive exercise. So you have somebody restricting calories, excessively exercising, your body adapts. It metabolically adapts to whatever you throw at it. So when you're exercising excessively, your body adapts to that. And when you're lowering your calories excessively, your body adapts to that. And in the short term, it might respond to this. But in the long term, what it does is it begins to conserve energy and go slower and slower. This is one of the reasons that when I do bodybuilding shows, I'm not doing them at this time, but when I was doing them and I came off a prep and I did the show, I would always reverse diet. I would back it out. So in other words, I'd start to slowly increase my calories, come up to maintenance and a little bit above, so that my body had a break and would not metabolically adapt to that ultra low calorie. So yes, calories matter and they're a part of this, and I use them when I'm working with clients. It's not that they don't matter, but there are other things at work here. Next up are your macros. If your macros are not balanced, you may find it difficult to lose weight. Your macros are your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fats. Those are the three main groups. You want them in balance. So you want anywhere from 30 to 40% of your calories to be coming from protein. The remaining calories are divided up between fats and carbs. How many fats and carbs you eat is dependent upon many things, your activity level. There are a few genetic components. Some people do better with a little bit higher fat diet, some people with a little bit higher carb diet. And as I said, your activity level, if you're very active, you're lifting weights, you're going to require more carbohydrates, for instance. So that's going to play into it, your age, your stage of life, and your health. Are you metabolically flexible? Metabolically flexible simply means that your body can shift from burning fat for fuel and burning carbs for fuel. So you're not just a sugar burner. You're not just burning carbs as your energy source. Your body's also reaching for stored fat and can effectively use both for energy. That's that metabolic flexibility, and that is what you want. Next up, food choices matter. I'll say it again, food choices matter. I truly believe, and there is some science and research to back this up as well, that it's just not the same to have 12, or excuse me, I want you on 1,200 calories, but 1,500 calories of, say, a McDonald's meal as opposed to 1,500 calories where you're eating enough quality lean protein, you're getting healthy fats, and you're getting the right kinds of carbohydrates within your diet. There's just a difference in what makes up those 1,500 calories or 1,600 calories, whatever it may be. So if it's 1,600 calories of pure junk, fast food, fried food, foods that are ultra processed and refined and packaged, and it's potato chips and cookies and juices, that is simply not going to elicit the same metabolic response as quality, whole, natural, unprocessed food. I actually had someone attack. I use that word. I use that word because it did feel a bit like an attack, because she wasn't very nice in how she did it, but she really challenged my idea that the quality of food matters on a post that I did on Instagram, to the point I had to delete and block. But the point was, she was saying, well, if you ate all cupcakes and you're still in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose weight. And you know what? Initially, that might be the case. If your body doesn't have any type of metabolic damage or adaptation, initially, yeah, if you restrict those calories, your body might respond. But there's a point where it's going to stop responding, and you're also not going to look the way you want to look. If you're eating 1,500 calories of junk, you're not going to look the same as if you're eating whole natural foods, quality protein, healthy fats, and healthy carbs. So the quality of food does indeed matter. Next up, the wrong exercise. If you're doing all cardiovascular exercise, such as running, elliptical, you name it, it's not enough for your body to change. You need muscle. Muscle increases your metabolism. Quality skeletal muscle that does not include a lot of body fat or visceral body fat. You don't want that visceral body fat. You want that quality muscle. That is going to increase your metabolism, and it also is a place for glucose to go, blood sugar to go. That muscle is going to take it in like a sink and use that excess glucose. Very important, especially in midlife, because we have a problem as women beginning in perimenopause with blood sugar regulation, which can lead to prediabetes and in some individuals, diabetes. So I'm not saying that doing excessive cardio is going to give you diabetes, but what I am saying is not having enough muscle is going to slow down your metabolism. You want that muscle, and it also is going to make it harder for your body to use that excess blood glucose. Plus, if you're doing a ton of long distance endurance cardio, eventually you're going to release cortisol, which is our fight or flight hormone, our stress hormone. And when that is dysregulated, if it's too high or high when it should be low or low when it should be high, you can have difficulty losing weight. There's even something called cortisol belly because we have more of those receptors in our abdomen area than we do anywhere else in the body. I believe it's 4 times the number of cortisol receptors in the stomach. So that leads to what we call cortisol belly. Next up, we have not moving. Now, I'm not talking about formal exercise, but simply too much sitting, a sedentary lifestyle. We drive, we don't walk much, we don't ride bikes much. As a whole, there are some people that ride their bike to work and walk a lot, but we just don't move enough. We sit in front of computers and phones and at our desk doing office work or whatever it is for our jobs, and we're just not getting up enough. So then you go to the gym and you exercise for, say, 30 minutes, 45, or an hour. That 1 hour will not make up for a whole day of sitting. And as we transition through menopause into postmenopause, we just tend to be less active. And that's really true of men as well. As we get older, we just tend to move less. Now, it doesn't have to be that way, but we need to get up and move. And movement can be gentle walking, such as walking the dog. Maybe it's parking a little bit further away from the post office or the grocery store. It's taking extra steps in the house. It's gardening. It's just all of the non-exercise activity. Next up, we have overexercise. And I mentioned that earlier. I alluded to it. So overexercise basically is when somebody is doing just hours and hours and hours of cardio, usually cardio, but this can even happen with strength training, where they are turning their strength training sessions into cardio sessions. And I've been totally guilty of this because I like the gym. I like to lift. And if I'm not careful, then next thing I know, I've been there 2 hours. And then by the time I do my official cardio and sauna, it's 3 hours. So I have to really try to rein that in. When you are over exercising excessively, and usually this is cardio, your body adapts to that amount of cardio and you need more to get that metabolic boost. And then it adapts to that and you need more. So in competition and bodybuilding, what we had were times where we backed off cardio and times where we really hit the gas and did it. So if we're coming in for a show and we really wanted to come in tight, we did more cardio, sometimes twice a day, which I would not normally do. And then as we came off the show, we backed it off. It became very moderate and more gentle cardio, less HIIT, less endurance type cardio. So you really want to look at your exercise. Toxins are another reason. Environmental toxins, toxins in our foods, really things that our body were not designed to detoxify with. So we do have a detoxification system naturally within our bodies that works very, very well, but there's a couple of problems. Number one problem is the toxic load is too high. Between everything in our environment, it's more than our body has been designed to handle. It's more than God made for us to handle. And then next up, there are some genetic differences in how people detox. There's some significant differences there. Some people do better detoxing than others. Others have quite a time. And so their bodies are really going to respond negatively to the toxins. And what our body does to keep us safe is it stores the toxins in the fat cells. So you can kind of follow the train of thought on that one. Next up, we have hormones. Now, I don't like women to blame hormones for their weight gain because, as you can see, there's several reasons why we gain weight and why we can't lose weight and why we hold on to body fat. Hormones come into play when they're out of balance. When they're out of balance, it can set off a cascade, or if a hormone rapidly declines, like estrogen, it can set off a cascade within the body, a hormonal cascade, where your body just becomes really almost more efficient at storing body fat, and in particular visceral body fat. So, for instance, when estrogen declines, we are more likely to put body fat in the stomach area as opposed to the hips and thighs. And that body fat is more likely to be visceral, which is the dangerous body fat that surrounds the organs and can lead to metabolic diseases, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, things such as that, even fatty liver disease. Even if you don't drink alcohol, you can get fatty liver disease. So we really want to pay attention to this. Now, it's not impossible. It sounds bleak. There are things you can do, even if you choose not to do hormone replacement therapy. Making changes in your nutrition and your exercise, sleep, and handling stress really can help your body to get past those weight loss plateaus or to prevent further weight gain. So with the hormones, it's really a balancing act, and the players are estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, insulin, and there's just a little dance that's happening among all these hormones, and they're messengers sending messages to each other, to your brain, back down. And so you can see where if that balance gets disrupted, of course, it's going to affect metabolism. Next up are consistency, or not our consistency, is consistency. So basically, if a woman is inconsistent, and I do see this a lot in midlife, I actually found when I used to work with younger women, if they didn't have kids, if they had kids, there was some inconsistency there. But if they were pre-children, they tended to be a little bit more consistent with their personal training sessions and workouts and showing up at the gym. And they tended to have a little bit more time. But the minute those kids come in and then you start to go through perimenopause, some women are raising kids, they're taking care of elderly parents, and they're working jobs. I know women that are working 2 and 3 jobs and caring for kids. And then they're going through all the transition. Their kids are teenagers and all of those challenges. And consistency can go out the window. I particularly see this when someone is a caretaker for elderly parents. They will put their own health completely out the window. And I also see it with jobs. They will put their job before their health. And now I'm not saying quit your job. I understand completely that you need to earn money. You need to pay the bills. You need to have your career. Obviously, you need to make that a priority. Obviously, your kids need to be a priority and your parents cared for. But you really need to make a concentrated effort to carve out the time, whether that's time to meal prep and have nutritious meals or shop, having your groceries delivered. We have that option now, which is so nice. I use it all the time. Perhaps it's to plan your workouts and actually put them in your phone and schedule them in with a reminder. Maybe you need to move a few things around. Maybe you need to ask for a different shift or schedule at work. But whatever it takes, it's important. If you continue in your 40s to put yourself on the back burner, you're going to really pay for it in your 50s and 60s. Trust me, I know. I cared for aging parents. I was a school teacher. I raised 3 small kids while I was a school teacher, while I was caring for my parents and taking my dad to chemotherapy and radiation and all of the things. I know what that stress is like, and I did not prioritize my health. And so I really would like for you to prioritize your health and your time and bring consistency in. And finally, number 10 is a lack of intensity in your weight training, in particular. Sometimes we think we're being intense and we're not. Our brains, once again, our brains want to keep us comfortable and safe. And so if something's burning and it's hard, the tendency is to stop before you reach the full potential. Now, I'm not saying go to the point that your form breaks up and you pull out your back. Not saying that at all. What I am saying is push hard enough to force an adaptation in the muscles. When your muscles have to adapt to that stress, that strain, they become more resilient and they grow. They adapt, they grow. This is how you build muscle. You can't build muscle with 2-pound pink dumbbells. That might do something if you're a beginner and you never move and you're getting up and moving, but it's not going to last very long. You're going to quickly outgrow that. So those are the 10 that I came up with that I feel are the biggest ones. And I've worked with thousands of women at this point in group programs and in my personal training days, coaching them online and in person, well over 1,000 women. And I don't know how many thousands of personal training sessions I did, but I saw and I heard it all. And I saw people's lifestyle. And I also saw what works and what doesn't. You learn a lot when you coach about what doesn't work. You see it. You see it in action. People are doing it and you're like, oh, whoa, that's not working. So it comes from a place of experience. I'm going to repeat them very quickly before I wrap up. It's a quick one today. I actually have a big time crunch and a hard stop today. Number one is metabolism is slow. It's down regulated, and that comes from over dieting, yo-yo dieting. Next up, macros. Your protein, carbs, and fats are not in balance. You've got way too many unhealthy fats or way too many refined carbs and hardly any protein. Protein is thermogenic, and I should have said that earlier. It actually helps you to burn more energy, more calories. It has a 25% thermogenic calorie burning, energy burning effect. So you want the majority of those calories to be non-starchy vegetables and your quality protein. Food choices matter. 1,500 calories that's fast food is not going to elicit the same response metabolically or on your body and frame as a balanced macro plan, protein, carbs, and fats, quality food, whole quality food. The wrong exercise, basically way too much endurance cardio. You can do a lot of lower intensity zone 2 cardio, but you don't want to be in that zone where you're out on a really long run or a really long bike ride and you're doing that every single day. Once in a while is fine, but you're just doing this every single day and you're releasing cortisol. That heart rate it's not high like it would be with high intensity, but it's high enough for that cortisol to release. Zone 2 is just below that, where you're breathless, you're working, but you could do it a long time. Do lots of that. That's good. Having no movement, so just too much sitting. Over exercising. This could be weights or cardio. I typically see it with cardio. Just doing way too much of that, your body adapts and ceases to respond. And in fact, from the cortisol, it might actually hold body fat and inflammation, water weight. Toxins are all over our environment and our bodies store them in our fat cells. That can be very hard to lose weight if you have a high toxic load. You can reduce your toxic load by buying organic as much as possible. No, it's not perfect and probably not completely organic, but buy it as much as possible. Eat whole, clean foods as much as possible. That's going to reduce your toxic load. Look at your pans that you cook in, your laundry detergent, the things you put on your body, your self-care products, and how you clean your house. You can reduce that toxic load by quite a bit. Next up is a hormonal imbalance. And just by getting your sleep under control, your stress under control, nutrition dialed in, lifting weights to increase your metabolism, you can really help your hormones. Now, is it going to stop menopause? Obviously not. That's going to happen, but it's going to make the transition so much better. Consistency, lack of consistency and lack of intensity was the last one. Not bringing the intensity to your workout. So you really got to challenge yourself. If you're on your phone the whole time, or you're taking really long rests, or talking to your friend for 10 minutes, you're not working out at the intensity that you need to. So I am going, just glancing over at my clock, I am going to wrap it up here to go on to my client call so that I'm not late. But I do encourage you to pick up my book, Finding Purpose in the Pause. And I'm so sorry I did not silence my phone. which I'm doing right now. I forgot to silence phone and computer. You can find my book, Finding Purpose in the Pause, Your Guide to Thriving in Menopause, by either going to my website or directly to Amazon, and the link is in the show notes. As always, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Carol Covino Fitness. Let me know what you thought. And until we talk again, bye for now.